The following production is part of the Play Some Video Games podcast network.
Gentlemen, start your engines. Welcome to the 9th episode of the PlayStation Experience podcast, which is now a racing episode. I'm just joking. I am Seth, and this week I am joined by Justin. How are you this fine morning?
Yes, absolutely. It's Seth. It's actually funny that you brought racing into the mix. As much as you're a racing fan, we all know that. But I actually rode in a race car last night.
Wow! All right.
Yeah. I'm at a work event, and as one of the events of the night, we actually got to race around stock cars, and we rode around. Got to be in the passenger seat, put on the helmet that made my cheeks look like a big fat chipmunk, and but it was fun.
Oh, what's the track out there? I
don't know the name of it. I didn't. Yeah, it's in St. Louis. I didn't know that. I don't think it's that NASCAR track.
Yeah, I don't think there's one there.
Yeah, it was a little bit smaller, but definitely a pretty powerful stock car. That was pretty fun.
Cool.
So.
Cool. I'm in, I don't know, about 2 months. There's this experience. It's a traveling thing that goes a bunch of different places, and it has Lamborghinis and Ferraris. And for, I don't know, it's my quote unquote Father's Day gift. I'm going to drive a Ferrari, which I will never get to do in my normal, regular driving life.
Seth, are you trying to tell me that you can't? You don't have Lamborghinis and Ferraris lying in your garage?
I do not. I have Dodges and 1999 Honda Accords.
Okay, yeah,
which
understandable.
I don't know how it is up in Michigan, but the 1999 body style of a Honda Accord tan is like the most common car in.
Yes.
I swear I see it the most of any car. So much so that one time when I was at our high school, I was not paying attention where I was going when I was getting back into my car, and I went over and noticed the car door was unlocked, which was unusual, but it happens. Open the car door, sit down in the car, put my key in the ignition won't turn. At that time, I look around, I smell the car a little bit, and it's a very pleasant smell, and realize that I am in a high school girl's car. So then I got out of that car and went and found my car and drove away, and nobody saw me, as far as I know. Of course, now I've just confessed, but I did not take anything. It was completely an accident, and I blame it on there being too many Honda Accords in the world.
Yeah. Sounds like a very Midwesterner problem or scenario.
Oh yeah.
So only a Midwesterner would find a car that's not locked,
right?
And thinking so.
And then not do anything about it. I didn't take anything. Didn't seal the car. yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know you've been pretty busy. Have you had time for? Have you been playing anything the last week or so?
Well, I did play. I've continued with Ni no Kuni. I was playing last week before I went on my work trip, but I continue to have a lot of fun with Ni no Kuni. It's every once in a while you find a game that's kind of addicting, and this has been that game for me for sure.
Cool.
So I'm continuing to go back to it. I still want to continue more of the different systems and stuff, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm also playing that one. I haven't been able to play since Sunday night, but I am, I don't know, maybe 7 hours in. Right now, I'm tracking people down to come to my village or to my kingdom or whatever to be like uh, I suppose maybe a minor spoiler, but nobody who is not playing Ni no Kuni will know what this word is. But tracking down the higgledy person to come and help out with my town. And I have to run. It's a bunch of fetch quests, but they're fun and it's beautiful to run around and having a great time. Um, Also, I've been playing MX vs ATV, which is it's a fun arcade game. I reviewed it up on the Play Some Video Games website. Gave it a 7 because it's a lot of fun, but it does have some bugs, and the online, I haven't had any luck racing online. So, you've been playing anything else?
No, just Ni no Kuni at the time.
All right.
We have some big exclusive coming up, in the next month or so. So, kind of gonna try to get through Ni no Kuni.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely don't think I'll be getting through it before like God of War comes out.
Yeah.
Before we move on too much further, we did want to mention our dearly departed Tyler, who is no longer with us.
Dun, 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 dun.
As far as I know, right now he is running a route, so he's okay. I don't know what he does.
Well.
I know that he works for a truck company and he's alive and well. If he's listening to this, we miss you, Tyler. You inject a certain
certain level of humor and
yeah. There we go. So
for sure.
Moving on, you mentioned exclusives. We do have a question of the week from Josh, from of course PSVG and from the Board with Video Games podcast. Before I dive into that, last week we talked a lot about Spider-Man, and we had a rumored date. Well, of course, later that day they put out the actual date, and we were completely wrong, which is all right. So Spider-Man is coming out now on September 7th this year. So I did want to get that out there. I figure if anybody's listening to this podcast, they already know that, but whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, from Josh, he says, is it fair that Sony keeps hogging the spotlight on fantastic console exclusives? Why won't they share the wealth? And my first reaction, first thought about why won't they share the wealth? It's because they're a business and they want to have console exclusives so that we will buy their console and spend money on PlayStation. But I also wanted to look a little bit deeper at it than just that. Do you have any initial thoughts?
No, I mean, the first initial thought is it makes 100%, it makes sense. That Sony's a business, in their console selling business.
Right.
And they make money off of console sales, and they make more money off of a percentage of game sales.
Yeah.
And if a game is exclusive to their platform, that means they capture 100% of at least their console side of that business. So totally makes sense. But I do think Josh brings up a good question. I think it's come up before. Like, I've seen it come up before where it's like, yeah, we understand why Sony or Xbox would do that, but like, maybe is it good for video games in general,
right,
to do that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly the one that got me on Xbox this generation is Tomb Raider, and I realized that was only it was a 1-year exclusive, wasn't a forever exclusive. But I haven't. I played the second Tomb Raider when it came to PlayStation eventually, but I didn't get very far, and I just didn't get into it, and I don't know why. Because I know it's a great game, but so I wanted to look at. I wasn't sure what entirely he meant by it, because there are a couple different kinds of exclusive. There's exclusives that are developed in-house, and then there are third or second party exclusives, however you want to call it, but exclusives from studios outside of the Sony world.
Yeah. Like Spider-Man.
Like Spider-Man, right? With Insomniac Games. I tried doing a little bit of research. Spider-Man got to be an exclusive. And I didn't get anything specific on how that was. Do you know have you read anything about how Insomniac got Spider-Man? I believe they got to choose what they wanted to work on.
Yeah. So I did hear some. I think Sony actually had the rights to Spider-Man. I think through this probably the same deal that they have for the movie franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow Sony, including PlayStation, had the rights for the video game license, and I believe they approached Insomniac and kind of said, gave them an option of, we want to do an exclusive with you. You can do any of these things, but hey, by the way, we have Spider-Man. Would you like to work on that? And I'm sure for a bunch of video game devs, that's like the dream to work on a Spider-Man game. So, no, I think that's how that came about. And honestly, I mean, and it's interesting that Insomniac is doing a Sony exclusive because they did a Xbox exclusive for the launch of Xbox One with I'm blanking on the name.
Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, Sunset Overdrive, which some would say is very Spider-Man-esque in some ways. But no, I think I totally understand why internal devs would like someone like Naughty Dog. It's obviously they're going to make only Sony exclusives. They're owned by Sony. Sony foots all their bills, all of that good stuff.
Right.
Someone like Insomniac, I assume that Sony gave them a pretty good lump sum of money to do this exclusively. In my mind, I don't really think it's hurting anyone. I understand that Xbox only owners are probably hurt by it because if they don't have a PlayStation, they can't play Spider-Man. But with these third-party studios, you don't know if that game would have ever been able to see the light of day if Sony didn't come in and give them a huge lump sum of money and fund their project, basically.
So I found I did a little bit of searching and found something I didn't find yesterday. I found a Twitter post from Insomniac on June 24th, 2016. And they said it's a post to a GameSpot article about the game because it was just revealed at E3. And then somebody responded and said, will you be changing the Spider-Man PS4 exclusivity after the outcry of fans and consumers? Is it at least up for discussion? Can we have a PC edition? I've asked Sony. Either channel falls on deaf ears. I figured a cheap solution that will cost $38. This is from somebody at Nitro Hype.
Yeah.
Insomniac responded, not falling on deaf ears. Sony is publishing the game, hence PS4. And then they were hoping that the publisher would change the mind. So Insomniac responded again, we can't change that. Spider-Man is a Marvel property. We don't control that. Sony doesn't do multi-platform games, which Nintendo doesn't do multi-platform games. Xbox doesn't do multi-platform games either, aside from Minecraft, which is a different sort of animal. So anyway, so Insomniac Spider-Man, again, that's coming September 7th. Insomniac does have a long history with PlayStation exclusives, Ratchet and Clank and Resistance. So it's, there's the relationship there, and I'm sure Marvel and Spider-Man is owned as a film franchise by Sony, so there's that relationship. Then I'm going down a list. There's a list on the PlayStation blog that's called the PS4 Exclusives Guide, 14 Games to Watch. So I'm just kind of, as far as a guide of actual exclusives that are coming, this doesn't count smaller exclusives, of course. But God of War, which comes out next week, next Friday. Of course, it's developed internally by Santa Monica. Detroit Become Human is developed by Quantic Dream, which is not an internal studio, but at least the last few games have only come to PlayStation. I'm not sure what they did before Heavy Rain, where the games came from, but again, it's about relationships there. Days Gone, Sony Bend. Ghost of Tsushima is developed by Sucker Punch. Blood and Truth, which is a PSVR game, is developed by Sony London. Last of Us is Naughty Dog. Dreams is Media Molecule. All of these are Sony-owned studios. That's pretty much the main ones. Of course, there's Death Stranding out there, which Sony smartly did a deal. I don't believe Kojima Productions is a Sony studio, but I'm sure they tossed a lot of money at him. So, and then I also wanted to look at the Xbox exclusives. We have a list here that's actually on GameRanks.com of some Xbox exclusives that are coming up. Are any, as a PS4 owner and Switch owner who doesn't own an Xbox, are there any Xbox games that catch your eye that you wish you could play without having to spend $300 on another console?
Yeah, I think I used to be a huge Halo fan, and I still enjoy the lore and everything behind Halo. So I would, that would be one for sure. And I'm not a racing game guy, but everyone says that Forza and Forza Horizon are some of the best out there. So those would be, nice. But at the same time, one nice thing with Microsoft is that if you own a PC, some of their exclusives come to PC as well as Windows 10 exclusives, which is kind of nice.
Pretty much, I believe moving forward, all of their exclusive games also come to Windows 10, which is pretty cool. But I do not own a PC. So I did want to look at the upcoming exclusives for Xbox One this year. You've got Crackdown 3, which I don't believe actually has a release date yet. I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. Sea of Thieves just came out, which has gotten kind of middling reviews, but I know a lot of the PSVG guys are having a lot of fun with it, and it sounds like if you have a good group to play with, it's a lot of fun. State of Decay 2. Those three are the big ones that have been announced for this year, and they're all being published by Microsoft Studios and developed internally by Microsoft Studios. There's also what was the other one? Ori and the Blind Forest 2. I think it's coming out, which isn't a retail release, but it looks really cool. I know the first one was really well received. And they have a few others too. We assume that Forza will be coming out this year, Forza Horizon 4, but that hasn't been announced yet. So anyway, so that's kind of a look at it. Other than for Sony, it's this year Ni no Kuni, Spider-Man, and Detroit are all third-party exclusives. Everything else is developed internally, and and those games just don't go to other consoles. That's the simple answer there.
Yeah.
Did also one of the things that has enticed me about the Xbox as someone who tries to be a budget conscious gamer, which is kind of an oxymoron, is the Xbox Games Pass. For I think it's $10 a month. You get access to a whole bunch of games, plus every new Xbox exclusive coming forward, internally first party exclusive coming forward, comes to the Game Pass. So for $10 a month, you're getting Sea of Thieves on day one. You're getting Crackdown 3 on day one, State of Decay 2 on day one, presumably Forza Horizon 4, and so on. And that's a heck of a deal. And so I look at sometimes when I'm deciding like, oh, how should I, I could probably sell my PS4 Pro and get at least an Xbox One S, even trade. But then I look at, I mean, it's the list of exclusives. I want to play Detroit. I've been looking forward to that for a couple years. I want to play Spider-Man. It looks awesome. And I want to have the option to play a good Major League Baseball game. Even if I don't play it every year, I play it, every 2-3 years at least. I want to have those options. And until there are comparable options on Xbox, I'm on PlayStation. So I don't know if you had any other thoughts about that topic.
Yeah. No, I think PlayStation is definitely doing a little bit better with exclusives. It doesn't, obviously, I mentioned I would like to be able to play Halo and Forza and some other games, but I think it's good that both companies have their own exclusives.
Yep.
That means that neither company has a monopoly. It means that there's, competition, which competition in basically any market or anything means that you get better products. So, and price stays the same. So, much as I would like to play those other games, the Xbox exclusives, without buying an Xbox, I'm very happy with. It's obviously pushing PlayStation to make really great exclusives.
Right.
So, and everything that's coming out this year looks really phenomenal. I sometimes there's hit and misses with exclusives, and there's smaller exclusives, but we've got Spider-Man and God of War, both look absolutely great. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they do have exclusives.
Yeah. The only exclusive that I'm a little nervous about that could go a lot of different ways is Detroit. Just because it's a different kind of game, and they've had Heavy Rain, which was great with a terrible control scheme, and they've had Beyond Two Souls where the story wasn't as good. So I'm hopeful for Detroit. I'm looking forward to it, but I could see that one disappointing. Or I could see it being 9 out of 10 awesome game. So moving on, Donnie on our Discord, on the PSVG Discord, posted an article. It's on Kotaku that says the PlayStation 5 is still a ways off. This post is based off of a rumor over the last couple weeks that some studios, where did the rumor? There was an article from a website called Semi-Accurate that alleged that a large number of PlayStation 5 development kits had gone out to game makers. The article also speculated that the console could be out by the end of 2018. And I remember reading that article. And then in order to go any further, the article was behind a paywall with pricing around at $1,000 for a year's worth of access, which is ridiculous. So I can't imagine paying $1,000 to access a website, especially a website that branded itself as semi-accurate.
Yeah.
So Jason Schreier I think that's how you pronounce his name, over at Kotaku, is one of their big sort of breaking news kind of guys. Maybe the only one, I don't know. Showed that to some Sony people, and Sony people just laughed and no, that is not accurate. At this time, it sounds like the trajectory is looking toward 2020 as the year for PlayStation 5. You have any thoughts about that? Is 2020? That's 7 years after PS4 launches. That's 4 years after the PS4 Pro. Do you think you'll be ready for the next round of consoles in, from now 2.5 more years? Justin?
No, I was muted for that for a second. I 2020 seems about right. Maybe just a little bit early. I feel like maybe like a announcement would come in 2020.
Okay.
But not necessarily a whole system launch. I mean, the last systems lasted, 10 years, plus. So, I think they could push these consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox One out a little bit farther. Plus, we have a PS4 Pro and Xbox One X. So I don't know if we really need, a new console just yet. So I think 2020 is about right, but maybe like 2021, 2022 is more, more feasible. But I certainly won't be ready in the next year and a half to buy a new system. I still have a regular PS4. I do not have a 4K HDR TV because it doesn't, that'd be. I already have a 1080p nice LCD screen, TV. It's not the time to upgrade.
Right.
So
we'll say with I have the Pro and I just have a 1080 TV. I really would like to get a 4K. Since I have the Pro, I'd like to get a 4K TV before Spider-Man comes out and before Red Dead comes out this year. I don't know if it'll happen.
Yeah.
And really, they're starting to get, I mean, not top of the line TVs, but you can get at the right time, a 43, 49 inch 4K for $300-$400.
Oh yeah. And
anymore.
not
So
bad,
it's,
no.
yeah. I remember my first quote unquote HD TV in 2006 was a 720 32 inch, and it was $600. So things have changed quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In general, I mean, 2020 is a fine time. It's 7 years after the launch. The PS3 to PS4 generation was 7 years. From PS2 to PS3 was 5 years, which used to be kind of the norm. I think now stretching it out to 7 years sounds about right. And really, if we wanted to be at the forefront of graphics and power and everything, we'd be PC gamers. I mean, that's how it is. We'd be PC gamers, and we'd be buying new components every year, and that's what we'd be doing. Instead, I like the convenience of a console, and I don't know if people have been watching these God of War previews and Detroit and Spider-Man, MLB The Show, playing all these different games. They look pretty good. As somebody whose first console was a Nintendo Entertainment System, who also had a Commodore 64 in the home that I played, and who also grew up playing Pong. My granddad had a Pong system that you just plug straight into the TV, and you had the two knobs that you turned the Pong paddles up and down the screen.
Yep.
As somebody who came from playing Pong to what there is today, I mean, holy cow. I'm not saying it can't get better, but it's pretty good. And with that, I think we're good. It was a quick show. We
Yeah.
we raced right through it.
It's
I
a
have
little slow week on news and releases.
yeah. Well,
We all
right after we recorded last week, there was the Spider-Man release date, and then also I think the last Thursday, Spyro the Dragon Remaster collection for the original trilogy was announced, coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox. So that I mean, those news items happened at the end of last week, and so they're kind of old news for us now. But anyway, Spyro is coming out September 21st. Are you excited about that one?
I feel like I am, but in reality, I know I'm not gonna really want to play it.
Okay.
I have nostalgia for Spyro because it was definitely one of the first big 3D platformers I had on my PlayStation.
Yeah.
But the remaster looks great. It really they really are remastering everything with all the graphics and everything. But it's still the same gameplay, which is very simple platforming and stuff. So we'll see. It's definitely one of those things where at some point I'll probably get it and blast through it, but definitely not at launch.
Yeah. I mean the remaster, you say it looks I know on the PlayStation blog they have a post about it that shows some of the images on, I think it was on Polygon. Their story has the images side by side where you can roll, you click on the image and scroll to the right and you see the old original game, and then you scroll to the left and it changes into the new game. And I mean, it's a stark difference. I mean, the old game is empty, and it looks like a PlayStation 1 game. And the new game is vibrant, and there's actually an environment in it, and it looks awesome. I'm looking forward to playing that with my kids. And I never really played I played the original, but not that much.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it's great. I'm glad that's coming out. Notable new releases this week: Extinction and Owlboy. Owlboy is already out on Nintendo Switch. I know Donnie and Jason loved it a lot. Extinction looks like it's coming out to die. I've not seen any ads for it, and haven't heard a whole heck of a lot about it. So I guess maybe it's not that notable. Anyway, that is it this week for the PlayStation Experience podcast. We will be back next week for episode 10. Maybe talking a little bit about God of War. So if anybody is listening right now and has any thoughts about the God of War franchise that you want to share, any big memories from the franchise, or anything you're looking forward to on the new game, why don't you get us on Twitter at PSXP Podcast. That's also our email, psxppodcast@gmail.com. You can find me personally on Twitter at Seth Joseph Roy, and you can find Justin on Twitter, and you can send him messages to get him to try to interact with you at...
Nope.
No?
Not
Not going to happen. Well, okay. Well, anyway, interact with us at PSXP Podcast. And as always, listen to the main PSVG show. We have a lot of acronyms here. We like acronyms. And with that, I'm good. Justin, you have anything to add for the good of the order?
I think the order is all good right now.
All right.
We'll be all set until next week, and should have some more news and hopefully some more gameplay stuff to talk about.
Sounds good. And with that, the checkered flag is waving on this episode of PSXP. Have a great week. Never stop gaming.